Hi, and welcome to Thriver TV, the place to break free from narcissistic abuse with quantum tools and understandings. And today we're going to talk about adrenal fatigue. Adrenal malfunction is serious and it is such a common symptom of narcissistic abuse. Many people believe that adrenal malfunctions can never be healed, and just like post-traumatic stress disorder, which actually is directly linked to it, may take careful management for the rest of our life. I want you to know that this is not true. Adrenal fatigue and malfunctions, just like PTSD, is totally curable. And I'm going to share with you in this episode exactly how to achieve that. And is it any wonder that adrenal malfunction is what many people suffer from after narcissistic abuse? Because we are in such states of high anxiety and fight and flee, not knowing 1 minute to the next what the narcissist is going to be and do, as well as having suffered direct malicious attacks that tear apart the very bedrock of our soul and our life. The results of all of this are the chemical cocktails of cortisol and adrenaline coursing through our body, causing significant damage to us. Now, this isn't a science lesson, but it helps to understand what adrenaline and cortisol are. They're stress hormones that are both secreted from the adrenal glands, which sit above the kidneys. Adrenaline increases heart rate, muscle contraction, and respiration. Cortisol increases glucose levels available for muscles to use. It also temporarily inhibits other systems of the body, including digestion, growth, reproduction, and the immune system, so that more energy is available for fight or flee. So other things shut down so that we're in that primal response mode. These stress hormones can be valuable in short-term bursts, such as if we needed to get up a tree to escape a predator. And then once the predator leaves and it's safe to climb down again, the effects of these stress hormones, these chemicals, naturally dissolve. However, when adrenaline and cortisol is constantly surging with little reprieve, without the relief of fuel, that danger is over now, it can have nasty long-term effects. Some of these symptoms are loss of hair, appetite problems, sleeping disorders, premature aging, risk of heart attack or stroke, and many other diseases due to a stressed immune system, including horrible things such as cancer. The bottom line is there is no upside to regular doses of stress hormones. There's also a very real danger of alterations in the brain's memory centers and the way it processes information. And this is why absolutely adrenal fatigue is deeply linked with post-traumatic stress disorder, because we're triggered regularly and often without warning. Our brain may perceive danger and trigger us off into panic on a hairline, as per cellular memories by association that we can't even logically understand. I want to share with you my experience of adrenal malfunction. It was severe. Like so many of us in this community, as a result of narcissistic abuse, I had lost drastic amounts of weight. I was having adrenaline rushes constantly. My hair was falling out in clumps and things were getting worse. Eventually, I had a complete psychotic and adrenal breakdown. At that time, I was told I was on the verge of adrenal arrest and that it was life-threatening, and that I could have a stroke or a heart attack at any time. Rather than just being prescribed anti-anxiety medication, I was told I would need something much stronger. A combination of antipsychotics if I was to have any hope of surviving my breakdown and functioning again, but that I would never be the same again. I could never hope to have a normal life. the breakdown was so severe. I've already shared in Thriver TV episodes about the awakening I had at this rock bottom that not only saved my life, but changed it from the trajectory of a mere survivor where I would have been medicated and forever trying to manage my adrenal damage and complicated post-traumatic stress disorders, agoraphobia and psychosis, to becoming the person who I am today, a true thriver who feels safe in life. In fact, so safe in life and in my own body that I'm naturally extended, confident, and I have zero remnants whatsoever of complicated post-traumatic stress disorder, adrenal malfunction, agoraphobia, or any other nervous system or mental disorders whatsoever. In fact, my adrenals are in the best shape they've ever been, as is my general health and well-being. My recovery was drug-free and nothing about it was contemporary. My recovery did not happen via antipsychotics and psychiatry, which I was told was my only option to be able to function at all. To explain how I recovered and what I did to recover, I want to give you this analogy. And I really want you to be present and feel into it with me, because this is very important and crucially relevant. I want you to imagine a child you love coming to you with an age-appropriate fear about something, like the fear of being rejected by someone or unloved, not good enough, ridiculed, whatever it is. And I want you to imagine that this little person is around 4 or 5 and they're crying their eyes out to you. And rather than comfort them, you said to them, "Shut up, idiot. I don't want to listen to this crap. In fact, to ignore you, I'm going to have to take this drink, take this pill, get on Facebook, ring the person who's been abusing me, go for a hard run, pull myself into work, turn the TV up, or go to bed and pull the doona over my head and fall asleep." How would this little one become? How would he or she feel? Manic, traumatized, terrified, unsupported. So what happens next? A huger and bigger disconnect with this child. More trauma being felt and unmet by him or her. And more diversions created by you to try to avoid what this child desperately needs from you, which is for you to turn towards him or her instead of turning away. And here is the deal, because the child's trauma is not being acknowledged, the child is likely to scream louder and louder and feel more and more unsafe until he or she is living in a state of literal panic. Maybe as yet we may not have made the connection between this scene, what we're imagining now, and ourselves. We may not have realised that the parts of us that don't feel secure and whole, and those parts which hand power away to abusers, are those parts of us that have not as yet grown up into being a solid whole adult. They are our inner, stunted, underdeveloped parts as a result of our childhood traumas, as well as the generational, epigenetic, and even gender-based traumas that we carry. So let me talk to you about my greatest terror that had nothing to do with being an adult woman at all. The biggest reaction a narcissist could ever extract from me was to say, "It's over," and walk out the door. I would panic, I would shake, and I would even vomit. I literally felt like I was going to die. Where was this coming from? Not adult Melanie, that's for sure. It was from the inner, unhealed 3-year-old within me who, through a series of events, had felt the white-hot terror of being abandoned, turned away from, and no one was there to help her. It wasn't until my profound journey of releasing myself from my inner traumas and terrors which had been mercilessly in repeat with abusive people, as all our unhealed parts are as adults, that I finally understood how this had made me cling to the wrong relationships and how I'd even made self-abusive and poor choices over and over again. Now let me make the connection regarding adrenal malfunction a little clearer for you to understand, using the example of the little girl inside me when triggered into literal panic. In the past, before my profound awakening and Thriver recovery, I did not go to my inner child to help comfort her and free her from her trauma. Rather, I did what we've all been taught so self-destructively to do. I turned away and tried to get my comfort, love, and security from other people outside of myself, which as a child we were supposed to get, but as an adult doesn't work for us anymore. It means that we're trying to get love, approval, survival, and security from false sources, which means someone else. And by doing so, I was going to the very people who represented the literal abandonment and trauma. And eventually these people graduated into becoming narcissists. You know, narcissists was what came into my life to help wake me up. And of course these people let me down. Of course they were unavailable to heal me. And then I tried to escape, even more compounding feelings of rejection, abandonment, and abuse from the people I tried to get it from, the love from, which of course was matching the same level of rejection, abandonment, abuse that I was giving myself. Then I would up the ante to try to numb out the inner screams that were going on inside me that I was not turning towards to heal by doing things like workaholism, drinking, smoking, as well as, of course, obsessing about the narcissist, telling everyone who would listen what a monster he was, checking up on him on social media, seeing if he was on dating websites, reading everything there was to find about narcissists, sneaking around, lying to others and planning my next meeting with him and how I could challenge him, playsate him, work it out with him, have sex with him, whatever it was in that given moment that I was trying to do to find a way to make him grant me the love, approval, survival, and security that my inner 3-year-old was screaming out for. Of course not from him. She needed me. Yet I wasn't going inwards to her. I was doing everything else other than going towards my inner child to hold her and heal her. Because I was making those choices, she was getting sicker. And this is vital to know. The state of our inner being, our emotional being, is the state of our cells and our life and how it unfolds, period. And the abandonment wounds were only one of my major wounds. Like so many of us, I had many beliefs and traumas that were causing disease and handing my power away. And when we hand power away, I promise you, we are in adrenal distress. The traumas that are responsible for this are things such as I can't survive or generate my own life. It's not safe to be myself. If I am my true self, other people will destroy me. And all of these parts internalized and trapped within us that eat us alive and draw to us all of the people and circumstances which are a direct match for these traumas. And for myself, additionally, I was handing power away and hooking in ways that were profoundly co-generating more of these traumas. And this is exactly why we're still existing self-divorced inner trauma. We get sicker and sicker progressively. In no way, under these circumstances, does time heal or wounds apply. In fact, we're on a steady path of dissolve instead of evolve. So the eventual conclusion for myself, like many of us, is the total breakdown brought on from adrenal and psychotic overload. And when it happened to me, everything inside me cracked. And at this time, I was lucky enough to have a profound experience which I was shown the truth about what had happened to me, why it had happened to me, and how there was a complete healing and resurrection possible. And I knew, like I'd never known any truth before, that my own disconnection from myself was the real reason my inner being was so terrified, helpless, broken, and traumatized. This was why I had the condition known as adrenal malfunction. The one person my inner being had been screaming out for all along was me. So for the first time after this awakening, I stopped looking outwards and looking to blame something or someone for my state, and instead I turned inwards and took 100% personal responsibility. That as an adult, regardless of how my trauma got there and who'd contributed to it, that only I could turn inwards and accept, love, and heal myself back to wholeness. So I did. I turned inwards. I showed up for myself with the deepest love and compassion I could muster, and started an incredible journey of self-love, self-connection, and making that the foundation of my entire life. I promise you this, when I started finding the energetic tools to release my inner trauma and heal it, the trauma left me. Cognitive therapy, no matter what path I'd tried, and I've been working on myself prior to this for 20 plus years, did not have the ability to produce those results. With quantum processes, I discovered that my symptoms melted away, when the real reasons why I was so terrified of life, myself, and others were addressed within me at my core and were released, I healed. And I discovered profoundly that the narcissist hadn't been the cause of these things. These traumas had been a part of my life all my life. In fact, I'd been born with them. I'd always been scared. I'd always believed I couldn't survive without a man. I had a fear of human beings and what they could do to me. I'd always had a fear of men, just like the women before me in my ancestral history. I promise you this, when you release the trauma that is the core root of whatever disease is showing up for you as a symptom, whether it be anxiety or depression or the escalated versions of a chronic disconnection with ourselves, such as post-traumatic stress disorder or adrenal fatigue, then you will reset back to well-being. That is the truth, and that is the truth that myself and so many other thrivers experienced, even with disorders that were termed medically impossible to heal. And this is why I feel really sad when I'm told of PTSD groups and groups of people with adrenal fatigue discussing all sorts of ways to try to manage their symptoms rather than healing the true core trauma of the actual disease. And I totally agree with supplements such as healthy eating, clean water and food sources, and all that goes with a healthy lifestyle. And I'm involved in all these things because I want to squeeze the most life force and longevity and also, feeling young and vibrant that I can out of life. But these things are supplements only. I've known of many people who are health gurus and do things like yoga daily who still battle adrenal fatigue and PTSD. They're simply trying to manage their symptoms because the trauma that is causing these conditions is still living on inside them. This is why we actually have to release it up and out so it no longer exists. So I hope that that's made sense and it's given you hope, because there are lots of people in this community suffering from adrenal fatigue, and that may be you. So I'd love you to come over to the blog, have a conversation at blog.melanietoniaevans.com, and please ask me any question that you like about this, because I'd love to answer it for you. So until the next episode, keep smiling, keep healing, and keep thriving, because there's nothing else to do. Lots of love. Bye-bye.